up guys, this is Nick at barburn.com, and today we got a really exciting video talking about the best protein bars on the market, because we live in a year where we have made protein bars that actually taste like muffins and brownies and Rice Krispie treats. We no longer have to have protein bars that taste like chalk and are not fun at all to eat. It's a really exciting industry at the moment, and protein bars just in general are really good if you want to, well, obviously increase your protein intake, make it a bit easier, but also if you want to manage your blood sugar a little more easily by avoiding fast digesting carbohydrates, or if you have trouble managing your appetite as well, because protein is really filling, and they're also just convenient when you're on the go. Like, protein is the hardest macronutrient to get when you're out and about and on the go, and it's the most expensive, even though protein is like the most important macronutrient. Right? Like, can we say that? It's like a very important macronutrient. The body is pretty much always happy to get some extra protein, right? So here we're talking about the best protein bars. We're gonna talk about the best crunchy ones, the best all natural ones, the best meat-based ones, and more. So make sure you keep watching. Before we jump into the benefits of eating protein bars and the full list, I should emphasize here, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional. So if you are looking to make any big dramatic changes or even little changes to your supplement regimen or your nutrition intake, make sure you speak to a doctor, a dietitian, or a medical professional first to get a qualified opinion. You know what, before I go any further, I'm just gonna tell you what my favorite protein bar is on the market, right? It's this one, Transparent Labs Uncut. We think this is the best protein bar you can get. It's got a solid amount of protein with 16 grams of protein. What they do is a 2:1 ratio of carbs to fat to protein, which means it's a really good idea if you are someone who leads an active lifestyle or is not on like a keto or low carb diet, because carbohydrates are actually very important to get in your diet, but it doesn't have too many. It's got this nice 2:1 ratio, and the ingredients are totally all natural. There are no artificial flavors or sweeteners here, which are really common in these, which is not to say there's anything wrong with that. But if you're someone who likes to limit them, this is a very good and very tasty option, because a lot of the flavor comes from honey and almonds and natural ingredients like that. So this is a really good pick. So what are the benefits of getting protein bars? I mean, look, whether you are looking to build a bit of muscle or lose a bit of fat or both, increasing your protein intake is likely a good strategy to go about. Most sports nutritionists, they'll recommend like 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And higher protein diets like that, not only do they have links to, again, like better body composition, like more favorable ratios of muscle to body fat, they also have links to better controlled appetite as well. Like, it's gonna be easier to stick to certain diets. You're gonna be fuller for longer. They can also help to manage blood sugar in that respect, because they absorb fairly slowly relative to like a candy bar or something. This is gonna be much more better for stable blood sugar levels. In addition to that, higher protein diets have very strong links to like really strong bones and healthier blood pressure levels as well. So it's not just an aesthetic endeavor. Higher protein diets have a wide range of other healthful effects beyond just the way that you look. In addition to that, it's just really convenient. Like, a bar is a more convenient way to get your protein than even protein powder, which is already very convenient and inexpensive as a means to do it. Even when I am making all my own food myself and I'm not going out and I don't need that convenience and portability of a protein bar, I still try and work protein bars into my daily diet just because they're really tasty, and they're usually a pretty good source of fiber as well. So our favorite protein bar is Transparent Labs Uncut. There's a lot to like about this bar. It's really good for, as I mentioned earlier, people who are active and athletes. It's not ideal for people who are following really low carb diets or really low calorie diets, but for like the average person's diet or for an athlete, these are a really good way to provide some sustained energy and also to curb appetite. And as well as providing like some nice nutrients for recovery as well. 290 calories per bar roughly, and it's got that 2:1 ratio I mentioned, roughly speaking, of carbs to protein to fat, which is a ratio that a lot of athletes follow in their overall diet plans as well. So it can fit really neatly into a variety of plans. And as I mentioned, it's also got no artificial flavors or sweeteners or anything. The flavor largely comes from like honey and roasted almonds. There's also whey protein isolate and chocolate chips in here as well. So it's a very all natural product. And surprisingly, we also made this the best protein bar for the money. When you get a box of these, it winds up at roughly $2.50 per bar. And I encourage you to go out and have a look at your local bodega or corner store or even supermarket and compare the price of getting an individual protein bar there. You'll find this is actually pretty decent value. So in addition to it being like pretty hard to find protein when you're out and about, it is, as I mentioned, pretty much always the most expensive macronutrient as well. And it can be a bit stressful, both mentally and financially, getting enough protein throughout your day if you're following a higher protein diet. So Transparent Labs Uncut helps to alleviate some of that stress and, helps you to get a bit more cut as well. Next up, we've got the little bar here from Onnit. And this is a very delicious bar that took home 3 awards this year. We are awarding this the best tasting protein bar, the best whey isolate protein bar, and the best for weight loss. Because as you may have noticed, it is on the smaller side, so it helps keep your calories in check a little more easily. Now, this is absolutely delicious, and it has all natural flavorings as well. What Onnit has managed to do here is make a bar that is really, really delicious and does not have artificial sweeteners and is not very high in sugar. So that's really a very considerable feat that they've pulled off here. In addition to that, what we really like about this as like their all natural approach is that, believe it or not, this bar contains vegetables, but it's not gross. What we're talking about here is a blend of powdered fruit and vegetable extracts that they've thrown in here that's a little bit like what you'll find in green superfood powders. So this bar here, it does indeed contain like powdered spirulina and berries and that sort of stuff for an extra hit of antioxidants, but you can't taste it. So even though it's all natural, no artificial sweeteners, and it's low in sugar, and it contains vegetables, it still tastes really good. So that's why we named this the best tasting, especially relative to what's actually contained in this bar. If someone had loaded in a whole bunch of artificial sweeteners, it wouldn't be that impressive a feat. What they've done here is really very impressive. And because it is just 140 calories per bar, and it's so nice and small like this, it is definitely a really good option for weight loss as well. Weight loss at the end of the day is strictly about taking in fewer calories than you burn. So you find out how many calories you burn in a day, consume less than that. That is how weight loss happens. Because this is lower in calories, it can help you in that journey. In addition to that, because it has a decent amount of fiber and protein and fat in it, it should have to keep you full as well. So it has a nice impact on satiety and on calorie intake as well. Again, we also named this the best whey isolate bar. So this gets a little bit complicated in terms of science, but in dairy protein, you typically get whey and casein, right? Those are the 2 types of protein you can get from milk, and whey is what usually goes into protein powders, usually. Now there's several different types of whey in the market as well. There's whey concentrate, whey hydrolyzed, whey isolate. Isolate is very low in carbohydrates and fat relative to the more popular and cheaper whey concentrate. If that's what you're looking for, more whey isolate. There's plenty of it in this bar from Onnit. And in addition to that, it's grass-fed whey protein isolate. Now this is a bit of an interesting category because a lot of people like grass-fed dairy because it's meant to be more healthy, right? But the health effects are limited to the fat. Like it has a more favorable fatty acid profile when it's grass-fed. Because this is whey isolate, which has practically no fat, the health benefits aren't quite so much a thing, but grass-fed whey isolate is still really cool because it means the cow was happier, right? They spent more time outside, it got plenty of grass, that sort of thing. I'm a really big fan of it, even when it's like a practically fat-free product like this. I always like it when it's grass-fed for the same reasons why I like to get organic meat instead of conventional meat. It might not technically be healthier, not always, but it means the animal had a nicer life, and that's a very nice bonus. So, best whey isolate bar for me and for us here at Barvin is Onnit's protein bar right here, and the best tasting, and the best weight loss. Get it in ya. Now before I move on to the best post-workout protein bar, I did want to quickly mention that I might be throwing a lot of information out here at you, so if you want to get the written version of this article, you can go through this at your own pace, maybe see some of the studies we're citing, that kind of stuff. There's a written component to this video as well, just to make things easy. So you just go to Google, write in Barvin best protein bars, and it'll come right up. Next up, we've got a really big winner on our list. Took home a whole bunch of awards, and it very much deserved to. It is from Legion. This one here is our best post-workout protein bar. It is also our best for muscle gain and the best all-natural protein bar. Legion as a brand really doesn't use artificial flavors and sweeteners, which is kind of a bit surprising in the supplement game. That can be a risky route to take, but they managed to make a really tasty protein bar here with all-natural ingredients. And what's even more surprising about that is that it tastes pretty good, but it still has fewer carbs, fewer net carbohydrates than it does protein. So it's very high in protein as well. You get 20 grams of protein here, which is the most on this list. 20 grams of protein is a really considerable amount of protein. And with the carbohydrates, it's 24 grams with a nice 9 grams of fiber, just 4 total grams of sugar. You do get 12 grams of fat here, which helps with satiety and everything as well. So the calories are good and the protein content is really good. The protein per calorie content is very good for muscle gain, which is why we named it the best protein bar for muscle gain. Absolutely no artificial ingredients either. Legion's very well known for that. They're a really big winner in that category. I've been holding it upside down this entire time. Legion's protein bar, they're very, very tasty as well. And they're good for post-workout because again, there's a decent amount of carbohydrates here. There's not a lot, But around here, we're not really massive fans of a low carbohydrate approach if you're working out regularly. So you do wanna make sure you're getting carbohydrates. To be honest, the average athlete usually gets like a good 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3 ratio of protein to carbohydrates. So they're usually getting more carbs than protein. You are getting that here. The net carbohydrates is lower though. Overall though, it's a good amount of calories and carbs and protein and fat to refuel your body after a tough workout, or you know what, maybe take one before the workout as well. Now, I've been talking a lot about dairy-based protein bars here, which makes sense because like whey is the most bioavailable protein on the planet, but that does not mean that there are no good vegan options out there. The best vegan protein bar comes from Orgain protein snack bar. We're a big fan of this one. So this has a nice 10 grams of protein per bar, and they come from rice and pea blends as well. If you don't know this, when you're talking about amino acid profiles, a lot of the time vegan proteins tend to be deficient in one or more of the essential amino acids. This means they're not available in those same amounts, whereas like animal-based proteins, they tend to have all the essential amino acids in roughly equal amounts. But if you combine some proteins, like rice and pea together, then you get a really nice complete amino acid profile. Now there are like soy and amaranth, there are some vegan proteins that are complete, but I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. My point being that this bar, at just 150 calories per bar, you get 10 grams of nice complete protein as well. And what's really interesting about this, even more than that, is that all the ingredients are certified organic, which is very unusual to manage that in a protein bar. So it is organic, and it is totally vegan, and it is complete amino acid profile, and all of those are the reasons why the surprisingly tasty protein bar from Orgain is the best vegan protein bar. Up next, we're going the opposite of vegan protein bars, keto protein bars. What is the best high-fat keto protein bar? It's named after me, actually. Nix Keto bars. It's not named after me, but that's what I tell people because it makes me sound more famous and successful than I actually am. But Nix Keto protein bar, we're a big fan of it here. So the calorie and macro breakdown here, one bar is 190 calories, you're getting 10 grams of fat. There are 20 grams of protein here, but you're getting 6 grams of fiber. So that helps to keep the net carbohydrate count down. And you're getting 15 grams of protein as well. So actually, when you get the net carbs to the protein, there's more protein than carbohydrates, and a nice 10 grams of fat. So if you plug it into your macro calculator, you will find that Nix protein bar is indeed very keto friendly. And the ingredients here, they are pretty all natural as well. There's no soy, which a lot of people on keto diets are avoiding. The sweetness comes a lot from stevia as well, or rather steviol glycosides. And you also got a protein blend made from milk and collagen. So the collagen makes it not even vegetarian because that comes from bones. This is not at all a vegan protein bar, but nonetheless, a lot of people do like to get extra collagen in their diets because it can help to maintain and improve the health of like skin and nails and that sort of stuff. The body kind of tends to produce less collagen as it ages. So yeah, collagen supplements are becoming increasingly popular on the market today. This is giving you egg white protein, you're getting whey protein, you're getting collagen protein, and a nice amount of fat from coconut oil and shea and nuts as well. Very, very tasty as well. This is peanut chocolate, and I thoroughly recommend them if you want a nice fatty bomb of protein. Up next is one that I'm actually very excited about myself. This is the best crunchy protein bar. I was very happy to learn that a lot of people are searching for crunchy protein bars online because it gave us a great excuse to try out the marshmallow crispy treats from Promix. What's really, really cool about these is that they look exactly like a puffed rice and marshmallow snack. Because what it's done is they have this way of processing the whey protein that makes it like kind of crunchy and bubbly, just like rice puffs, like the breakfast cereal, right? So what you wind up with is a bar that's totally covered in protein because it's all whey, but it's really crunchy like a children's treat. And the ingredients list and the macros are really impressive as well. Like the ingredients list, like there's a lot of really, really natural ingredients like coconut oil and vanilla extract and egg whites and inulin from Jerusalem artichoke. That's a prebiotic fiber with some potential digestive benefits. So like the ingredients list is really, really legit. And the macros are as well. So one bar, as delicious and decadent as they taste, is 150 calories. You're getting 15 grams of protein. You're getting 13 grams of net carbohydrates and just 3.5 grams of fat in this one. And it comes in a few other flavors as well, so their macros are gonna vary ever so slightly. But you've got a snickerdoodle flavor, you got more chocolatey flavors. But this one here is the vanilla crisp flavor, and I'm absolutely insanely crazy about it. And I can't believe how low in fat it is. It really is a very, very impressive feat they pulled off here. The best crunchy protein bar. Next up, we've got a very interesting addition. This one is the best low carb protein bars. Now, it is true that Nix is pretty low carbohydrate. These are unbelievably low carbohydrate. We're talking about the epic protein bars because these are meat. These are meat bars, right? These kind of came about during the paleo craze about 10 years ago, and they've stuck around because they are really tasty. Like this chicken one here is made with like sriracha hot sauce. The beef one here is jalapeno. And these bars, except for the pork one, which has 6 grams of carbs, but the rest of them have 1 gram of net carbohydrate per bar. So really low in carbohydrates, lower than Nix, to believe it or not. And this also makes them keto approved. There's a decent amount of fat in these too. They're Whole30 approved, there's no GMOs, and they're a thoroughly unique experience in the protein bar market because again, these are meat bars, right? So I find them really tasty. They're not like jerky, like they're not like dry and stringy, like they're nice and moist, but they're not gross. I really encourage you to try them out. Epic protein bars if you wanna just get your animal protein not from dairy, but you wanna get it from like actual meat, like kind of we always have as humans before we started, processing whey protein powder, right? I got nothing against whey protein powder, but these have a very useful and important spot in the market. They're really, really tasty. They have a variety of flavors, 1 gram net carbohydrates as well. Lastly, we get a lot of questions about the best protein bar for people with diabetes. Now, before going on, I should make it clear, if you're someone with diabetes, you should speak to your doctor or certified diabetes educator before making big changes to your diet. What's interesting about Extend Nutrition's protein bar is it is designed specifically for diabetes and pre-diabetes management in mind, right? So the whole goal with this bar is to help to keep stable blood sugar levels. And the carbohydrates, the way they approach it is really interesting here, right? So the first thing you might see on this label is 9 grams of protein, 25 grams of carbohydrates, right? Which might make you pause. But you take away 7 grams of fiber from the carbohydrate count to get down to the net carbohydrates. After that, 9 grams are sugar alcohols, which is a way they keep it sweet, but sugar alcohols don't absorb the way that sugars do. So they're often not counted in people's carbohydrate counts. And then after that, it's got 8 grams of what they call other carbs. And the other carbs here are uncooked cornstarch and glycerin. And these forms of carbohydrates, they convert very slowly, so they have a minimal impact on blood sugar. So the way that this company has approached the carbohydrate count is to say that you get 25 grams of carbs, take away the 7 grams of fiber, the sugar alcohol, and the other carbs, and just 1 gram of net carbohydrates. Now, that approach is probably something you should talk to your certified diabetes educator about. Nonetheless, the approach to carbohydrates here is really interesting because they managed to make a robust and tasty bar, especially with the help of those sugar alcohols. But the amount of sugar actually impacting your blood sugar is very, very minimal. So it's really, really interesting. Again, speak to your doctor, but this is a very interesting approach that was designed specifically for people with diabetes in mind, and the bar has become very successful as a result. It's used very, very widely. So definitely take a close look at Extend Nutrition's protein bars. They've got a few tasty flavors. They've got a lemon one, and this one here is yogurt and berry. And I gotta say, this one's my favorite. So that about wraps up our list of the best protein bars. You might have noticed we have a pretty wide spread of different kinds of protein bars with different ingredient profiles and macronutrient profiles here for you. And that's because the right protein bar for you, it really depends on your individual needs and wants and your predispositions as well. So like by that I mean, some people, like they're keto, right? They're on really low carb diets, so they're gonna want the really low carbohydrate bars. Other people, they might be vegetarian, so even if they are low carb, they don't wanna have an all meat bar, but they're okay with the dairy. But in addition to that, like the artificial and natural thing. A lot of people, they prefer naturally flavored products. Other people, they prefer the artificial stuff because it does tend to taste better, right? That might be your priority. And then there's what you digest well. Because what's interesting is some people have trouble digesting artificial sweeteners like sucralose. There's some people that can like kind of mess with their gut microbiome, the bacteria in their gut sometimes. But other people, they have trouble digesting the natural sweeteners like sugar alcohol, for instance, which we mentioned in the Extend Nutrition bar here. Sugar alcohols like erythritol, they don't really absorb like the same way that regular sugar does. It's usually not counted in carbohydrate counts. So it can be really good, but because of the way they sort of like ferment, the way they digest, some people have trouble digesting those, so they would rather have the natural sugars, like just actual regular sugar, or they might rather have artificial sweeteners. The point here, I'm getting a bit complicated here, but what is really useful and helpful for one person, even like the fiber count, can be hard to digest for someone else. So take your own needs and your own personal history into account when choosing a protein bar, and whichever one you do land on, we really do have a very good spread here if I say so myself. So whatever your predisposition in your diet is, there's something here for you. So we hope you found this video educational and useful. And if you want to see the full written version, again, if you want to go through this information at your own pace, take a look at the ingredients and nutrition yourself, you can just read the full article by Googling Barbend Best Protein Bars. That does it. Stick around, we'll see you for the next video.